Right now, as you're watching this, someone just quit their side hustle, not because they wanted to, but because their body literally gave up on them first. In 2026, we're facing something nobody predicted when the side hustle revolution began, a burnout epidemic so severe that emergency room visits for stress-related conditions among gig workers have jumped 43% since 2024. But here's what's really disturbing. Most people burning out aren't failing because they're lazy or incompetent. They're failing because they're doing exactly what the system told them to do. So what's the truth they're not telling you about side hustles? Why are people working harder than ever but ending up broker and more exhausted? And what if everything you've been taught about building wealth through hustle is actually designed to keep you trapped? Let me show you what's really happening, because the answer isn't what you think, and it could save you years of wasted effort and thousands of dollars you didn't even know you were losing.
Between 2024 and 2026, something unprecedented happened in the American economy. The gig economy didn't just grow, it exploded into a $455 billion industry. Today, 39% of American workers have a side hustle. That's nearly 4 out of every 10 people. But here's where the story gets interesting. While the number of people starting side hustles increased by 67% since 2024, the success rate, the percentage of people actually making sustainable income, dropped to just 12%. Think about that for a second. 88% are struggling, burning out, or barely breaking even. Why? Because we've been sold a beautiful lie. The lie sounds like this. Just work harder, monetize your passion, trade your time for money, and financial freedom will follow. Social media influencers show you their highlight reels, the $10,000 months, the laptop lifestyle, the passive income paradise. What they don't show you is the 80-hour work weeks, the crippling anxiety, the marriages falling apart, or the fact that after taxes and expenses, many are making less than minimum wage. In 2026, the average side hustler works 15 additional hours per week. That's 780 hours per year, the equivalent of nearly 20 full work weeks, for a median return of just $6,400 annually. Do the math. That's $8.20 per hour before taxes. But the cost goes far deeper than money, doesn't it? See, there are 3 hidden triggers destroying side hustlers in 2026. And if you're caught in even one of them, you're already on the path to burnout. Let's unpack them. The first trigger is what I call the time poverty paradox. You started your side hustle to gain financial freedom and flexibility. But what actually happened? You now have 2 bosses instead of 1, work 7 days a week instead of 5, and haven't taken a real vacation in how long? A 2025 Stanford study tracked 2,000 side hustlers and found something chilling. Within 18 months, 71% reported chronic sleep deprivation, 58% had new or worsening anxiety disorders, and 34% showed early markers of cardiovascular stress. Your side hustle was supposed to save you. Instead, it's literally shortening your life. But why do we keep doing it? Because we're terrified. Terrified of never having enough. Terrified of falling behind while others succeed. Terrified that if we stop grinding, we'll end up broke and forgotten. The hustle culture preys on that fear, and it's making billions doing it. The second trigger is the financial literacy black hole, and this one costs people tens of thousands without them even realizing it. Here's a fact that should make you angry. 68% of side hustlers in 2026 don't understand quarterly estimated tax payments. They're hit with massive tax bills every April, often owing 25 to 35% of their income they never set aside. In 2025 alone, the IRS reported that gig workers underpaid their taxes by an average of $4,700 per person, leading to penalties and interest that compounded the damage. But it gets worse. Most side hustlers don't track expenses properly, missing out on thousands in legitimate deductions. They don't separate business and personal finances. They don't understand the self-employment tax. They're working themselves into the ground and then handing over 30 to 40% of their earnings because nobody taught them the rules of the game. What if I told you that with proper structure, most side hustlers could legally keep an additional $3,000 to $8,000 per year? Would that change how you view your hustle?
The third trigger is the one nobody talks about because it's uncomfortable: the psychological trap of sunk cost and identity fusion. You've invested so much time, money, and energy into your side hustle that quitting feels like admitting failure. It's not just a business anymore, it's become who you are. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a content creator, I'm a business owner. Your identity is fused with your hustle, so when it's draining you, you can't walk away because that would mean losing yourself. A 2026 behavioral economics study from Yale found that 64% of struggling side hustlers continued operating at a loss for over 2 years, purely because of sunk cost fallacy and identity attachment. They were literally paying to maintain an identity that was destroying them. And the cruelest part? Society celebrates this as dedication and persistence when it's actually self-destruction dressed up in motivational quotes. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Sarah, a 32-year-old marketing professional from Austin, started a handmade jewelry business in 2024. She spent $8,000 on inventory, equipment, and marketing. By 2025, she was working 25 hours per week on top of her full-time job, making about $15,000 in revenue. Sounds good, right? But after materials, platform fees, shipping, and taxes she didn't plan for, her actual profit was $2,100. That's $3.50 per hour for skilled creative work. When she finally calculated her real hourly rate and added up the cost of therapy for her burnout-induced anxiety disorder, she'd actually lost money. She quit in March 2026, not because she wasn't talented, but because the math never worked and nobody told her how to make it work. Or consider Marcus, a 28-year-old rideshare driver in Chicago who drove 30 hours per week as his side hustle. He thought he was earning $22 per hour, but when a financial advisor had him account for gas, vehicle depreciation, insurance increases, and the true tax burden, his real earnings dropped to $9.40 per hour, below Illinois minimum wage. 2 years of wear on his body and his car for less than he could have made at Costco with benefits. So if everyone's struggling, why aren't we talking about the real solution? Because the solution isn't sexy. It doesn't sit in a 60-second TikTok. It requires honesty, math, and sometimes the courage to quit. But it works. Here's the 4-step framework that's helping people fix their side hustles before it's too late. Step 1. Audit your true hourly rate with brutal honesty. Track every single hour you spend on your side hustle for 30 days. Not just the productive work, but the administrative tasks, the social media, the customer service, everything. Then calculate your actual profit, revenue minus all expenses, minus taxes you owe. Divide your profit by your total hours. That's your real hourly rate. In 2026, financial advisors recommend a minimum threshold. If you're earning less than $25 per hour after all costs, and you can't see a clear path to scaling beyond trading time for money, you need to seriously reconsider. Your time is your most valuable asset. Are you investing it or wasting it? Step 2. Automate, systematize, or quit. This is where most people resist, but it's the turning point. If your side hustle can't be systematized to reduce your hours while maintaining or growing income, it's not a business, it's a second job with extra steps. Look at what can be automated. Scheduling tools, email sequences, payment processing, customer management. If you're doing repetitive tasks manually, you're bleeding money. In 2026, AI tools have made automation accessible even for solo entrepreneurs. Successful side hustlers are now spending 60% less time on admin and focusing on high-value activities, strategy, relationships, and growth. The rest either systematize or face the honest truth that their hustle isn't viable. Step 3. Fix your financial structure immediately. This isn't optional anymore. Open a separate business bank account. This takes 20 minutes and costs nothing with most online banks. Start tracking every expense in a simple spreadsheet or app like QuickBooks Self-Employed. Set aside 30% of every payment you receive for taxes. Put it in a separate savings account and don't touch it. Learn the tax deductions available to you: home office, equipment, mileage, software subscriptions, education. In 2026, the average side hustler who implements proper financial structure saves between $3,200 and $7,500 annually in taxes and avoided penalties. That's real money you're leaving on the table because you didn't spend 3 hours learning the system. Step 4. Set sustainable income boundaries and protect them fiercely. Decide on your maximum hours per week for side hustle work and never exceed it. Decide on your minimum hourly rate and never go below it. Build in rest periods, actual time off where you're not hustling. The most successful side hustlers in 2026 aren't working the most hours. They're working smart hours with clear boundaries. They've learned something crucial. Sustainable wealth is built through compound growth over time, not through burning yourself out for quick cash. A study from Harvard Business School in 2025 found that side hustlers who maintain strict time boundaries were 3.2 times more likely to scale their income beyond $50,000 annually than those who worked unlimited hours. Why? Because boundaries force efficiency, prevent burnout, and create space for strategic thinking instead of constant reactive work.
Now, here's the bigger truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Side hustles aren't the enemy. Poor strategy is. Lack of education is. The toxic hustle culture that glorifies exhaustion is. In 2026, the people building real wealth through side income aren't grinding 80-hour weeks. They're working 10 to 15 strategic hours on businesses with actual profit margins, proper systems, and clear growth paths. They're investing in skills that compound, learning, building assets, creating systems that work without them. They understand that financial freedom doesn't come from working yourself to death. It comes from making your money and your time work efficiently together. Think about it this way. If you invest those same 15 hours per week into learning high-income skills, building an actual scalable business model, or even just investing in index funds with the money you save from quitting a losing side hustle, where will you be in 5 years? By 2031, the choices you make today will compound dramatically. The person who spent 2026 through 2031 burning out for $8 per hour will be exhausted, broke, and bitter. The person who spent that same period building smart systems, investing wisely, and protecting their health will be exponentially ahead, not just financially, but in every dimension of life that actually matters. So here's my final question for you, and I want you to really sit with this. What if the path to wealth isn't through more hustle, but through smarter hustle? What if financial freedom isn't found in working yourself to death, but in having the courage to value your time, set boundaries, and build something sustainable? The answer might change everything about how you spend your next decade. If this opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered, hit that like button. Subscribe for more finance insights that cut through the noise and give you real strategy. And drop a comment below. Are you currently running a side hustle? What's your real hourly rate when you do the honest math? Let's talk about it, because the conversation we're not having is costing us more than we know.